All right, good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order tonight, March 20th, 2025. No objections heard. We are officially started. There will be just a slight adjustment to tonight's agenda as far as action item number 3 until our, hopefully he gets here safely, administrative director is able to join us. With that said, we will remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded. So any visitors, those virtual and here and present, if you can just, of course, make sure your phones are muted. Virtually, if you can make sure your mics are muted until you are asked and chosen to talk. First thing then for tonight on the agenda is to approve February 20th, 2025 meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I move that the minutes from February be approved.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of approving February 20th, 2025 meeting minutes? Any nays? The ayes have it, hands have it. I think I need to clarify again that for tonight, March 20th agenda, I would like to make the amendment that we're just going to move action item 3 to another level until the administrative director comes in. That could be action item 4, depending on when he gets here. Is there a motion? No, don't need a motion.
No, we'll just keep
So
it going.
we don't need a motion for that, we just keep it going. I'm sorry, Laura,
Do introductions?
say again?
Would you like to do introductions?
Yes, I was going, yeah, I was gonna buy some time, thank you, Laura. Great minds, that's why she keeps us sharp. So with that said, before we get into, again, to give us some time, let's, but we need to approve, so tonight's agenda, is there a motion to approve March 20th, 2025 agenda tonight?
Here.
I move that we approve the March 20, 2025 meeting agenda for this evening.
All right,
Second.
all those in favor of approving March 20th, tonight's agenda, please raise your hand by either saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. And as right on cue, our administrative director, we give him time to set up still though. So we'll continue with introductions until we give Forrest time to get set up. So with that said, tonight we have Rockville's city, very fine city, and very fine police department. Tonight we have with us, of course, Lieutenant Tagliano. Tagliani, I said, I should have put the E on it, Tagliani. What's the matter for me? Tagliani, Lieutenant, who's well known amongst the PAB and the community, does a great work. We have Deputy Chief Plummer tonight with us here from Rockville City. And just for professional announcements, we have Acting Chief for now, Jason West, Rockville City Police Department. With that said, give you some more minutes.
It's just heating up.
Okay, give you some time. We would like to ask if, Chief, it's in your hand to introduce who's with you and or themselves.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here. As Bishop Walker said, my name is Jason West. I am currently the interim chief of police for the city of Rockville. I got appointed and it was effective on November 22nd, 2024, after Chief Brito decided to resign. I've been with the city of Rockville for, in June, it'll be 8 years. Prior to that, I worked in Frederick County at the sheriff's office. I retired there after 20 years. Just a little background on me. I spent 20 years there with Frederick County government, the sheriff's office there. Frederick County Sheriff's Office is the county, essentially the county police, full service police agency. Started my career on the road, which I absolutely enjoyed. The nice thing about law enforcement, or the thing that draws me to law enforcement, is to be able to interact with everyone. So I did that. I transferred to our detective unit, spent almost 9 years in our detective unit in the major crime section. And then I eventually became the supervisor of our major crime section, handling homicide, sex offenses, sex crimes, the arson unit for a while. I was promoted to sergeant, went back to patrol, and wonderful experience for me. Being a police sergeant, you have a lot of impact and direct influence on your shift. And I had men and women that worked for me that had been on for just new out of the academy to the most senior person had about 28 years on. I did that for several years, and I was promoted to the rank of lieutenant, transferred to our narcotics division as the commander. We had a HIDA unit, which is a high intensity drug trafficking area task force, which I was the operational commander for. Worked in partnership. Our office, we had troopers from the Maryland State Police, Frederick City Police, and Homeland Security Investigations was our federal department back then. Retired and came to Rockville as a patrol officer. So I started my second career here in Rockville on patrol, and I enjoyed that immensely. Spent a couple years doing that, got promoted to corporal here. Then I made lieutenant. Late last year, I was a lieutenant. I was our midnight shift watch commander for several years, and I got transferred to be the commander of our SOD, which oversees our detectives and special operations section, because my prior career, I spent a lot of time in special operations. Last fall, I was appointed to be an acting major. We had some vacancies we had to fill in our command ranks. I was the Field Services Bureau commander. And again, in November, I was appointed interim chief of police by the city manager. You know, the city of Rockville is it's a very welcoming community. It's much different than, you know, it is one of Maryland's largest cities. But this to me has, and I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, it has a small community feel to it, which is what I enjoy here. One of the things that we're very proud of is our community engagement activities within the police department. And that connects us with our community, various community organizations all across the city. And that pays huge dividends to our police agency. So, you know, that's why I like Rockville City, and I volunteered to step into this role as the interim chief of police because I believe in what we're doing here. And, you know, I had the full support of everybody else on the command staff. And Deputy Chief Plummer was appointed to the acting deputy chief of police role. He does a phenomenal job for us. And I'll let him talk about his career, but that's just a little snippet about me, just to give you a little background of who I am, where I'm from, and why I love the city of Rockville. So I'll let Deputy Chief Plummer tell you about himself.
Yeah, acting Deputy Chief Plummer. I got put in the acting role the same day as Chief West got put in his interim role. I've been here a little over 3 years now, Rockville City Police. I did 28 years with Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, where I retired as a lieutenant. 20 of those years I was in plain clothes, serving warrants. 7 of those years I was with a multi-agency task force, marshals, working in PG County, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, DC, all over the place. That's what basically the highlight of my law enforcement career. I retired as a lieutenant. I investigated several agencies that I wanted to apply to for my second career as a law enforcement officer. I met and talked to, evaluated a few people. I observed people like Interim Chief West, a lot of the patrol officers, and it turned out that Rockville City was the only agency that I applied to because I endured and respected their professionalism, the way that they conduct their business. I'm a guy that, I'm always used to arresting people. Rockville City, we arrest people, but we do give options. When we go somewhere, it's not our first inclination is we're going to go there and lock somebody up. They try to help people. We give them every opportunity, and we give them all the options that help them in their situation. Because when we show up, obviously, usually it's not that's a good situation. But like I said, it's the only agency I applied to, the agency I wanted to be a part of. I came here and I did a year and a half of patrol on midnights, which was very enlightening, very enjoyable. The previous chief asked me to put in for the major of the Field Services Bureau. I obtained that. When the last chief left, he called myself and Chief West, and he told us what the plan would be to make us interim. We had meetings with the other command staff, and we spoke collectively with the city manager. It was unanimous that Chief Jason West would be interim, and I would be deputy. We're doing good things here. We're changing and updating outdated general orders, directives. We're making sure that we have better relationships with our risk management people over at City Hall, our attorney's office over the city. Very enlightening change, and if you go over to City Hall, I think they would agree.
So, just to piggyback on what he said, essentially, we're fostering and renewing relationships that prior to us taking command, we had no idea because we weren't at that level. So we are fostering and working closer with our risk management office and our city attorney's office. They're our attorneys. And one of the things we started day one, we started updating our general orders because we want our general orders to be, in accordance with state law and best practice. And that protects everybody. So he's right. The chief's right. We have a lot of good things going on here. Again, we took over in November. We've made a lot of positive change. The morale of the department's come up. The entire work culture within the police department, and I think Lieutenant Tagliani can agree to that, is totally changed. Most mornings when I come to work, I feel like I'm working in a new police department. And I'm not being dramatic or embellishing that. I'm real proud of what we have here, and from what we got to where we're at now, I'm just real proud of the men and women of our police department. Every one of them.
And the one thing that we gotta keep in mind is we're making changes, and we're trying to make it a good environment for our officers, but we are holding them accountable. If they need to be disciplined, they need to be held accountable, we hold them accountable. If they need to be praised for good work, we praise them for good work. And we put that on, we document that.
It's outstanding.
Just I'll be quick with myself. Been with Rockville City now, coming on 18 years. Prior to that, I did 2 years at Chevy Chase Village, is where I started off. Kind of went through the ranks, corporal, sergeant, lieutenant. I was placed in the Office of Professional Responsibilities. I've been there for about 6 or 7 years now. Like I said, at that time, seen a lot of changes, and I guess in recent time, I've noticed the department's going in a better direction, and officers are you're working well with each other, and there's good morale with our department. Not only that, while recruiting, I kind of do the recruiting backgrounds. We notice a lot more applicants coming our way just because they hear about our department. Mainly they hear from other officers and they see how we work. We've actually had some Rockville City residents recently apply. One we just hired because he saw how professional and sharp one of our officers were at a call for service at his work. So I said, "Why'd you apply?" He was like, "Man, your officer came to my work and I've never seen someone so professional. I was just like him." And that was his reason for applying, and we just hired him. So that was a pretty cool thing to hear. So,
Outstanding.
yeah.
Outstanding. And we want to be able to get you all some time to come back into some of those statements in reference to what you're doing and where you're driving now since November. Want to give you more time to do that.
Sure.
But I want to get back on track. So you want to take it from here for me, George, and put us back on track with you where we are on the agenda?
Sure. I think just, well, in the interim, briefly, I'll say it's a pleasure to meet you. But my name is George. I serve as a parliamentarian for the PAB. I'm a Germantown resident as well. So excited to bring you on and be able to work with you more closely. And like Bishop said, getting a sense for the changes that you're making and that evolution. I'm happy to hear that, like all of us are. And I know Bishop mentioned this at the outset of the graduating class, the widespread sort of recruitment class that we got in, and again, I think that's a good thing for the county, as well as any changes that you envision. Our ability to discuss those and be involved in that conversation to the extent that we can be partners in that journey for you, we'd be happy to. So with that, just to introduce myself, and I'm sure maybe on this side of the room we can keep going, but with our admin director here, we can proceed to the staff report as soon as we can.
Okay, and let's do this. Just for a moment, those are online, our members online, would you please just introduce yourselves, because most of you may not know Deputy Chief Plummer and Chief West. So just introduce yourself, please, right quick, and then we got to move right on to our staff report. Okay, everybody's talking at once. Okay.
Hi,
Lisa.
Plummer and Chief West. It's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you so very much for meeting with us. I've been a member of the PAB for, this is my second term, and I'm very pleased with the work that we've been doing. I am a lawyer and an educator, and I'm excited and energetic and ready to hear what you all can share with us regarding the questions we submitted.
Chris.
And likewise, thank you for joining us. My name is Chris Zetretz. I'm also a resident of Germantown.
Excuse me, is that Ron, I see? Ron, you want to introduce yourself?
My computer is going crazy. Yeah, good evening, Ron Wright, and just got on the PAB last June, so I'm serving out a previous member's term. Good evening.
Thank you. I can't see the other name, but there's another, that's not, okay, it's not another board member. And of course, our present board member here, please, sir.
Greg McCray, been a PAB member since the last 2.5 years. Gaithersburg resident. I like the police departments I've been involved with before. I have several family members that are former troopers and retired officers, Virginia and Maryland.
I don't think I need to waste time introducing me, so.
No, we know you.
Okay, all right. So at this time, for us, we did already approve both agendas for 20th February and tonight's agenda. At this time, sir, we're going to give it over to you and your staff for the staff report.
Thank you, Chair. First, my apologies to the members of the board, our esteemed guests, and those of us who have joined online. For those of you who joined online from the community, for my lateness. Wet roads really do a wonder to traffic. The first item that we have is the review of the monthly complaint report. Ms. Byers.
Thank you very much. This is for February 2025 complaint report. We had 6 complaints through the portal. 2 were defined as eligible by Montgomery County Police Department and are currently under investigation. 1 was defined as ineligible. We have 2 from Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. 1 is defined as ineligible because it was from Montgomery County in Ohio. And then we have 1 that's eligible by Montgomery County Fire Explosive Investigators, and that's currently under investigation. Through other methods, we have 8 complaints. 6 were defined as eligible by the Montgomery County Department of Police and are currently under investigation. 2 were defined as eligible by Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, and they are also currently under investigation.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, just a quick question. I'm sorry. The 8 complaints, 6 of them were MCPD. Did I hear that?
Yes.
Roger that. Okay. Thank you.
Right. Since the last meeting, the staff received 2 requests through the board member request portal. 1 was for consent search policies for the law enforcement agencies in Montgomery County. Those were made available through the policy viewer, as available to all members of the PAB, as well as all members of the ACC. On the Police Accountability Resources SharePoint, we received a request for information on best practices in other jurisdictions and around the country regarding consent search policies. We are digging into that presently. We have taken contact from Montgomery County Police Department, who is their liaison for CALEA, the Center for the Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies, who is happy to meet with board members, help explain policies. Likewise, their accreditation manager is happy to review policies with us as needed. CALEA's written work product is licensed, so they can't actually send us copies. However, we are procuring an educational non-agency license. Once that becomes available to us and we know the full terms, we'll let the board know what options we have and what we're able to do with it. That is it for the requests. The members of the PAB and the ACC were informed of the county executive's recommended budget for fiscal year 2026. You've received some additional details in writing, how that compares to the prior budget. There are a couple outstanding questions from us to the Office of Management and Budget about exactly how that was constructed, to make sure we haven't encountered any keying errors. As a reminder, that the staff are employed by the Office of the County Executive. It's the county executive's recommended budget. It's not our role to critique or evaluate the budget. We provide our feedback internally. However, we are here to help you with your advocacy. If you wish to advocate directly to the county council, likewise, if you are satisfied that the county executive's recommended budget would meet your needs, then there would be no reason to act. Finally, a matter for board consideration, returning to the subject of publication of the recorded Police Accountability Board meetings. So as a quick recap, in general, the use of county-provided technology to record or transcribe meetings is prohibited under County Administrative Procedure 6-1. The Police Accountability Board obtained a specific exemption in early 2023. Subsequent to that, in early 2024, the Department of Justice published new rules for the application of the Americans with Disabilities Act regarding online accessibility, creating a variety of new requirements that would attach to the publication of video recordings, going to the depth and accuracy of the transcriptions. They must be live, they must be fully accurate, and require a significant labor or financial investment. We've been working with TEBS, the county's technology department, to try and find solutions. So far, TEBS is not in a position to offer a transcription service to all of the agencies or departments that would want it. They are making available training for employees to perform that transcription directly. It is highly labor intensive, generally requiring at least 2 times the amount of time in the recording itself to produce a transcript and attach it to a video in a way that satisfies the full ADA rule. However, there are exceptions. The rules regarding the transcription and captioning of videos do not apply in full force as currently written to social media sites. YouTube is technically a social media site as a matter of seemingly settled interpretation for now. So what we can do, while we do not have the labor or finances at this point to support full captioning, we could support staged rollout of automated captioning to provide some level of textual support to what people are seeing on their screens, and post the videos to the PAB's YouTube channel. We would not be able to do that all at once. While we would be using automated features to help prepare those basic textual supports to the videos, hesitate to call them transcripts. It would take time, so we would need to first know, A, whether the board wishes to post its videos under the exception to the social media website, and then whether it wishes for the staff to begin with its most recent meetings or the meetings furthest back in time. Yes.
As far as policy and under the mandate for us to meet the county needs of transparency in the Open Meeting Act, would it not be most appropriate then, not necessarily looking for an answer at this point in time, though, to go ahead and start with our most recent meetings moving forward and post such meetings to YouTube if YouTube is an acceptable media?
And I think that's what the question is on the totality of the board's thought on that.
And that's why I was putting it that way as a thought process that I think that would be the most best way to address such an issue.
And I'm wondering, we don't mean to interrupt, we can wait till you complete your.
Oh, not at all. I was going to suggest that if Member McCray, not to chair, if you would like to make that motion, I'm sure the board could hear it at this or
right now. I wanted to do that, and if you're finished, I think you should make that motion on how we want to do it, because the thing I want to put on the table with that is the financial part of it, because I'm sure there's a financial part to going back into archives, trying to retrieve, and what that would look like. Is that
So going this method, going through the social media exception, we're not expecting short-term increase in financial costs. We wouldn't be hiring contractors. If the rule changes, if social media websites were to no longer be exempt, if YouTube were to be considered a video sharing site instead of a social media site, we would have to revisit that approach. However, under our current understanding of the new ADA rule, it would be simply a labor investment of time, for the landlord's part, to prepare those in a staged manner over time.
One question for me on the technical aspect of this, the the extent to which we use, for right now, any web-based platform for meetings that themselves contain transcription, live transcription. Is that a question of accuracy that we're able to do that?
Yes, so we can use those built-in automated features with the social media exception to produce that minimal level of textual support to accompany the video. Those features can also be used to help prepare a fully rule-compliant transcript, but there are not any automated services at this point that we or that TEBS have made us aware of that are capable of doing it start to finish with rule-satisfying accuracy.
Okay. So it's just a matter of then how far we would want to go back, or if we want to go back, we just want to proceed from a starting point now, or even tonight on. Did you want to make a motion on it, and how would you want that motion to be? Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody virtually. I don't see any hands, so.
Okay, I would like to amend and make a motion to my previous comment that we as the PAB, I recommend and move the motion that we start from this point moving forward, take all recording meetings and make them public, addressing the ADA requirements of using YouTube as the social media. And
Yep, that's good. That's good. Is there a second? I think I see Board Member Alicia seconding.
Yeah, good eye.
Right? So we have her, all those, okay, so all those in favor with, from this point forward, taking our recordings and meeting the ADA requirement with postings, either aye or raise your hand. Okay, Ron, see your thumbs up. Any nays? The ayes have it.
Thank you. That concludes the staff report.
I would like to ask Forrest, if back in reference to the budget, is there a time limit or constraint that we have in which we need to respond as a board to what we think, what more monies may need to be allocated, or?
We can get you a formal answer to that in probably tomorrow. My answer tonight would be the board would want to move on it quickly.
With that said, I would like, and not to put them on the spot, but I would like to ask if Board Member George would join me in the endeavor with setting up our first meeting with you sometime. I know tomorrow's kind of swamped for me. I don't know what your schedule is. Maybe we can do a email picking some days next week of when you are available, so we can sit down, us three, kind of get an idea of what the report, because I kind of went over some of it, where the money was allocated. I think it was a certain amount here that was spread out. It's kind of like, what? So.
Yes, and my recommendation would be that both you as chair of the PAB and Ms. Johnson as chair of the ACC would be involved in that. Both chairs advocated earlier this year to the council a unified front on the budget certainly cannot hurt, especially since neither the PAB nor the ACC have an independent budget. They have an overall shared program.
Right. Okay. So let's try to see something next week. Then we can. I know I was asked by the chair of the ACC to be tomorrow. I think that'll be more of a preliminary thing. I don't know if we want to hold until we all can sit down on that. But I'll maybe go over that with her tomorrow and see what that is. I think it was something at 1400, 1430 or something tomorrow, but we can always amend that.
Understood.
Copy that. All right, I think that's it, you said. Good thing, which moves us to action item number 4. Just want to get this in before we really get into our questions. Are there any members from the public or virtually with us? This is time that we allot for public comment and or questions. And just for situational awareness, we may not answer your question tonight, but we do take we do make the effort to either get an answer to your question if we cannot get to it tonight. Uh, because we're here now with Rockville City Police Department, we're going to kind of hold you to 90 seconds if you want to speak. And please, we ask you not to get offended if we have to mute you after that 90 seconds. It is, nothing personal. We want to hear from you, but we do have a lot on the agenda tonight. These fine officers have been up all day working, and we know that they want to get home to their families eventually. So, are there any comments we have in the public?
Due to the adjustments that we had to make to the Zoom security, so that people couldn't unmute themselves and disrupt the meeting, folks right now don't have the ability to take themselves off mute. We do have one guest who had requested in advance an opportunity to address the board. If the chair would like to recognize Mr. Miller.
I would like to recognize Mr. Miller. Again, Mr. Miller, just remember those rules because we have a lot on the agenda. We may not be able to answer your questions tonight or respond to your comments, but we want them heard, and you have those few seconds.
And Mr. Chair, did you did you announce a time limit this evening?
Yeah, 90 seconds. Just because we have fine city of Rockville's department here, we want to give them a chance to share with us what they're doing. So I recognize.
Madam Chair and Committee, first, thank you for your service. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your service. I come before you out of concern for a report of the ACC. I was an election worker who was asked to leave a polling place on election day by a Montgomery County police officer for purposes of dignity and decorum. I'm not going to include his name, but dignity and decorum of government serve to remind those governing that they took an oath, not to elevate them over the governed. I should not have been asked to leave a polling place by a Montgomery County police officer on election day. Your administrative charging committee in its report said that I said that the no electioneering sign, which was not conspicuous and was beyond, had no effect because it was not primary day. That's absurd. The board puts out those signs. I couldn't see it. People are frequently asked, hey, can you get back behind the sign? There is no need for a police officer to tell me I have to leave a polling place on election day. Your administrative charging committee said that I said that because it was not election day, the sign had no effect. It either was election day or it was not. And per my calendar, it was election day. That sign would not have been there had it not been election day. My First Amendment rights were violated, and I was further violated by the ACC, by them completely misconstruing what I said, and that I said it was not election day. It was certainly primary day, and I don't like the way they did that, and I don't like they wouldn't hear me out.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I wanted to make sure you finished. I did not want to.
What can I expect to hear back from you? Because I've already written the General Assembly, and I'm considering writing the county. I'm really not happy about how this was handled and how I communicate with the board. They kind of appear to be an entity into their own, where I as a citizen shouldn't be heard. That's not right, and I shouldn't be kicked out of a polling place on election day. I don't care if it's private property. My home is not a polling place on election day, so I can keep people at my home. That was a polling place on election day, and I was not creating a ruckus.
Thank you. It is Mr. Miller. Is that right, sir?
It is. And when can I expect to hear back from you?
Thank you, sir. And I want you to know that this is the PAB right now. So what I want to do is just explain that I cannot speak on behalf of the ACC, but what I can do is I can get a message to the administrative executor over the ACC and voice your concern and allow them to do what they do in reference to reaching back to you, Mr. Miller.
So I've already told them that, it certainly was primary day, and for them to say in the report that it was not is inflammatory.
Understood, sir. Understood. I thank you for your comment, and I promise you I will get with the administrative director on behalf of the ACC to give them a moment or a chance, an opportunity to get back with you, sir. Thank you.
He told me to hire a lawyer. I wasn't happy with him.
Yes, sir. I understand. Thank you, sir. All right, if we can just kind of put that on the note for me, I don't want to forget that I promised Mr. Miller that I would reach out to the staff and on behalf, and allow them to reach out to the chair of the ACC on how they would like to communicate back with Mr. Miller, since the PAB cannot do that on behalf of the ACC.
Indeed, and I will observe for the Administrative Charging Committee, they did issue return correspondence to correspondence received from Mr. Miller.
All right, so there was a, thank you, sir, thank you. So Mr. Miller, he can expect to see that correspondence. Thank you again, Mr. Miller. Is that all the public? All right.
Would appear so.
All right. Thank you. Moving on for that, again, we thank all our members of the public. Your comments, your concerns, you're more than welcome to voice those. At this time, we are action item number 5, which is, we've already had our introductions of Chief West, Deputy Chief Plummer, and of course, Lieutenant Tagliani. Right? So thank you again for that. So let's, Board Member Alicia, can you still hear me? Do you have the questions in front of you?
I do.
You know, I always like to start with you first.
Yes,
So,
I do have the questions.
okay, good. Would you like to do the first 2 or the first 1? How would you like to proceed?
I'll do them. They're not the ones I submitted, but I.
You tell me which one you want, and I'll just hold you in that spot and let someone else start.
Okay. That I
one is
guess
it?
mine a little bit further down. Mine
Okay.
are.
What's that? 9 and 10?
Mine are starting at 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Okay. You may not be, I may not get you to do all of them, but we'll let you start.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Which one can I raise one of them or no? Or
Did you want, I wanted to see if you wanted to go in kind of order first, or did you want to start yours? I'll tell you what, since I did call your name out,
yes.
you pick one that you want to start with, and then we can just go back.
Yes.
How about that?
Terrific. Okay. Thank you, officers, chiefs. And you have a copy of the questions, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm just going to take my camera off for a minute because I'm looking. Yes. What are the training procedures for de-escalation by off-duty non-uniformed officers?
It's question number 6, Chief.
The training for off-duty officers is pretty much the same as on-duty officers. They are still required to do the de-escalation training that we offer in recertification in-service classes. They are responsible for identifying themselves if they're taking law enforcement action. And if they're out of the jurisdiction, obviously, even if they're in a jurisdiction, they need to contact an on-duty officer to take over that law enforcement investigation. But the de-escalation tactics and training is all the same. It's just that we want to make sure that, when you encounter someone, make contact, that person needs to know who you are, what your business is.
And as far as de-escalation training, department-wide, we're working very hard to get all of our police officers through the CIT training program here in Montgomery County. We have a good partnership with Montgomery County Police and the Crisis Center, which is where those trainings take place. Every time the opportunities come up, we put multiple officers through that training. So that's part of the training that we're giving our officers, in addition to what Chief Plummer said.
That's terrific. And so that segues nicely into the next question. I'm jumping to number 9. Acknowledging that.
Well, remember, you might like just do a quick follow-up before you jump in.
Sure. Yeah.
This is the chair. And so, the deputy and chief, and I know you said that that off-duty officer is still responsible for identifying themselves.
Correct.
Um, it may be connected, so forgive me if it is, but does that also mean that they also are responsible to giving their badge numbers if they're asked by a citizen, wherever that incident may or may not be?
Anytime someone asks an officer for their name and ID, they're required to give their name and ID.
And if I'm tracking correctly, I think you said, Deputy Plummer, that the next step, if this is an incident, it's an ongoing investigation, and the other procedural policy is to call for a uniform on-duty officer. Is that correct? So they
Correct.
cannot continue to carry out that point of business.
Depending on the exigency of the situation.
That's what I wanted to make clear. Can you say that again, sir?
Depending on the exigency of the situation. Sometimes it's a situation where you can't wait 10 minutes for an officer to get there. If you need to protect someone's life, you can't wait.
Thank you, sir. That's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you, sir. What member?
Yes, thank you. And one more, since off-duty officers don't necessarily have their body cams, correct? They're not in uniform. My question included non-uniformed. When officers are off duty, I'm presuming they're not wearing their uniforms, but it was actually specifically referencing being out of uniform. So you don't have your body worn. You don't have your body camera footage, correct?
That's
for
correct.
the interactions that you have with the public.
If they're off duty, that's correct.
I'm sorry, say again?
Yes, if they're off duty and they're not in uniform, they're not required to have their body worn camera.
Okay. So what safeguards are in place, I guess, to ensure transparency for the public of that interaction? I guess the dashboard camera, I mean, what?
Well, I think I think to appropriately answer the question is circumstances are always different. When I see the question, which I appreciate and understand your question. For example, if I'm off duty in another county, not intending to have a police interaction, and there's an incident that requires me to intervene, I'm off duty, I'm not in uniform, I had no intention of becoming involved in a police incident, but it is my duty and obligation to intervene. Of course, I wouldn't have a camera. Now, if the officer was off duty, but they were traveling in their departmental issued vehicle, they may not have a body camera, but all of our police cars are equipped with in-car camera. So we potentially would have the in-car camera footage.
Right. Thank you. Am I referencing that correctly? Dash cam?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
You made another question for me. I'm sorry. So, and I guess this will probably, if it's directed correctly to Lieutenant Tagliani. So because I know you handle the professional, the Bureau of Professional Training. So in that, does part of your training as far as professionalism and all of that speak to those officers? Let's say they're in the unmarked cars, but they are in their patrol area, but they are off duty. And I know things sometimes can be a little different in personalities and interactions when you're already off duty, and now you have to follow. And it's really hard to say off duty because once you're serving, you're serving. And I know we only using that as a descriptive point to make these questions, into context. But Lieutenant Tagliani, is that something that you cover even in the professionalism, or that you look for when you train?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of times we're going to interview the officer, or if it comes to the extent of a complaint or something like that, where we will interview everyone that was on scene to make sure everything occurred the way that the officer said it happened. We've had some instances where officers will happen to be close to the body camera, they'll retrieve it and turn it on, just as protection to safeguard themselves, which we encourage also. It's just more to defend their actions, and so we have a background so we can see everything. But if there's not a body camera and there is a complaint, everyone that's involved gets interviewed just for consistency to verify everything occurred, actually happened the way it did.
And our cars automatically turn on the camera. So if they're in their vehicle and they turn the lights on, or automatically starts.
Yep.
And that's another reason why we tell the officer, or it's in our directives, get an on-duty officer. An on-duty officer comes, obviously, body-worn camera will be on, and we can, Lieutenant Tagliani can solicit that body-worn camera from that other agency, because we all use the accident.
Yeah, we've had an instance where if it does happen, I'll retrieve it from the outside agency just to verify everything is as is.
And the officers know that it's in their best interest to use the body-worn camera. You know, when they first came out, officers, kicking rocks and stuff like that. But that's, like the lieutenant says, that's our best defense. It's second nature.
Okay, and I'll just kind of combine 9 and 10. Acknowledging that officers are overused to handle mental health crises. What, if any, adjustments or changes to training have been implemented? You've mentioned the CIT training for officers. Is there a possibility that RCPD would refrain from interacting with persons upon arrival in such incidents of mental health crises until an MCOT team could arrive? Is that ever considered a possibility? In the alternative, could training be adjusted to ensure against the officer's use of force during these encounters, barring any imminent threat to the officer's safety, of course, or any other individual nearby, to assist with community concerns, in particular for the safety of unhoused persons, persons with substance abuse problems, and persons with disabilities? In short, is there under consideration any adjustment to training and manner of response when interacting with persons who are experiencing mental health crises and you don't have an MCOT team there with you yet?
So I appreciate the question. Actually, the Rockville City Police Department, we do contract a mental health specialist. She's a clinician from Montgomery County. She's embedded into our police department. She responds, her name is Beth Loftus. She responds to calls for mental health crisis. Actually, it's even more than that. When we see someone having some issues with substance abuse, or they need additional resources. So like the county has mobile crisis, we have our own mental health specialist internally in the department. And she responds along with our officers to these calls for service. As far as training, in addition to CIT de-escalation training, one thing we started last year during our departmental in-service, since Ms. Loftus is a clinician and she is the expert, we actually had her teach an in-service training class to all of our officers during our annual updates on the de-escalation, things that she's looking for, how we can better mesh with her during our responses. She's been an absolute resource and an asset to our police department. So we're fortunate to have her on staff. So kind of wrapping 9 and 10 together. And we still use the county's mobile crisis teams because obviously Ms. Loftus doesn't work 24/7.
Right.
Mobile crisis is 24/7. So we have a good partnership with the crisis center. There's a lot of times in the community, even after hours, we'll encounter someone who just needs resources. So we make every attempt, and we regularly will transport those individuals to the crisis center so that we can connect them with the appropriate resource. Does that make sense for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Bishop, there are 2 more questions I really wanted to ask. May I? I don't want to take up all the time, but there are just 2 more. 7 and 8.
I tell you what, I don't think anybody else has a problem with it. No? Yeah, please.
And we've been moving along pretty smoothly. So 7 is regarding the Administrative Charging Committee. Does the ACC, and I know that there's no one here in the meeting that can speak to the ACCs, but what I'm talking about specifically is RCPD's transmission of the evidentiary file. Are they sending that, and would ACC be in receipt of the chief's recommendation? In other words, the person in charge of disciplining that officer, or accepting the ACC's recommendation, or going with something a bit more severe. Are they in receipt of the chief's recommendation with the evidentiary file that's sent to them?
I want to hold just for a moment. We don't have special counsel with us tonight to kind of see if we can talk about that open. So I want to refer to administrative staff first, because I don't want to be careful of what we get into with that.
I appreciate being circumspect, Chair. In this instance, I think it would be a fair assessment, since the question is addressed to Rockville City about what they do. They are free to answer it. It does not. The ACC's due to confidentiality, your duty to confidentiality, aren't imputed to the other organizations providing input. They would be governed by any specific laws, regulations, or policies applicable to Rockville City.
Yeah, I could absolutely answer that. So when we send a case to the ACC, we absolutely send a cover letter with the chief's recommendation for discipline. Yes.
I see. Thank you. And so question 8, what if any safeguards or protections are in place for a junior officer who may report misconduct of a senior officer? And that's the only wording I could use. You know, I'm a civilian. I'm not an officer, but meaning lower ranked officer who may, under the active bystander law or precept, what, if any, safeguards or protections in place for that officer to feel safe, in that there's not going to be pushback or possible retaliation from the officer who is the subject of the complaint? Is there an official policy you could share with us?
Yeah, so I guess there's a two-part answer here. We're also governed by the personnel rules of the city of Rockville. The city of Rockville has some very stringent rules on retaliation. All complaints against personnel, regardless of rank, regardless of the rank of the person making the complaint, or the rank of the person that's subject to the complaint, the city of Rockville has a very strict policy, no retaliation policy. I can't get into the details, but I can tell you the city takes that very seriously. We have annual training for all city employees on that, to include our police employees. So yes, there are policies in place to protect those officers, yes.
Thank you. That's it for me.
And I also volunteer the Maryland's common law, and to the extent it has been defined in statute, laws on misconduct in office don't just relate to explicitly illegal behavior, but corrupt behavior performed for a legal purpose. Of course, any decision whether to criminally charge an officer would go to the state's attorney's office. It's not assuming it's a non-violent event, to go to the attorney general's office.
If I may, just to follow up on this related topic, but slightly different angle, if you may, is that part of our work as the PAB, we've made some recommendations. One, as it relates to training and the use of 21st century technology to effectuate training on police officers, in part as a coaching tool. And here's my question is, to what extent can you, or do you, target training for junior officers versus more senior officers? Is there a way that you can sort of evaluate performance on the basis of other sort of factors as that, like experience versus non-experience? How do you if you can target training in a certain way, how is that achieved?
So if I have the question right, do we tailor training based on the person's levels of experience or their rank?
Correct.
Yes, we actually do that. So our training, we do a lot of our in-service training with Montgomery County Police. Our lower ranking officers go to the regular formal in-service training. Our police executives, lieutenants and above, go to the executive in-service. So it is a little different. And one of the reasons that the Montgomery County, I don't want to speak on their behalf, but at least because we participate, the reason that they divide those up, they want the executive staff, lieutenants and higher, to have a good understanding about what the junior, lower ranking officers are learning in service. If we're evaluating their conduct, we want to know, and we're subject to the same training. So if one of our officers does something and it's allegedly per training, we also have that same training. Is that?
Yeah, and I can provide more context. The reason why I asked that is because, as part of our role is to sort of assess trends and understand trends. And one of the things that, not to speak for the board, but personally, I've been interested in is trying to understand the extent to which we know whether there are police officers that exhibit more complaints versus less, and what are those drivers, right? Maybe it's an experience, maybe it's something else. And can we use that data to target that training, to make it more effective? So that's where I'm going with that, is you being able to use technology to, for example, just to give you a little more context on that, the review of body-worn camera footage, it's not a review of every video ever recorded, right? It's a sample that's being taken. It's a very low percentage of all of what occurs. And there are solutions today where you can exponentially increase the number of reviews for body-worn camera footage, understand whether there was de-escalation language used, et cetera, et cetera. So just a little bit of a prelude into what I would hope that, you and I'll give you some insight into what my future question might be, is you mentioned there's a lot of changes going on, changes to general orders, and I'd like to speak a little bit more on that. I'll yield my time for now, but in the spirit of change, trying to go in that direction.
Sure.
Tell you what, why don't you keep the floor? And you can start with, I was thinking about number 5, you think, and then see if that ties in and segues something to what you wanted to continue on with.
Yeah, sure. I'll give the chiefs an opportunity here. I think you've answered this question, at least in part. But the question is, what is the training for off-duty non-uniformed officers? Is there a difference in protocol for approaching and questioning citizens or residents?
The only difference is if the officer's off-duty and non-uniformed, they are always held to the same protocols as if they were on duty. However, if they're off-duty, not in uniform, we issue armbands that say police so that the general public will understand. Hopefully, they'll be able to see that to identify, and other responding officers, that this person is a police officer. If they're armed, they're required to have their agency credentials. They're required to have their Maryland Police Training Commission card with them. Is that answer?
And usually they will, because I've done this, because I've was in plainclothes for years and years and years, is there's usually 2 descriptions that put out. You got your suspect, but the main description you want to put out is you. When the officers come on scene, they want to know what you are wearing, what race you are, because depending on the situation, they may, offer up a weapon for their safety. So the protocol has been for years and years and years. You get on the radio, this is my suspect. He's wearing this. He's wearing that. I, the police officer on scene, am number one person, code 1. I have this coat on, what color it is. I have these shoes on. I will have a yellow armband on my right arm. I am armed.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to ask this question, and then I have one that's not on the list, but it will tie into one of the earlier questions. First question, does your department have a policy regarding officers when they enter a residence for a wellness check or some other warranted or non-warranted issue, and a resident member, homeowner may not be at that residence? Do you have a process of notifying?
Well, every call that we go on is given a incident number. So an incident number could be, go to this address to see if this person's okay. It's automatically gets an incident number. If it turns out there has to be a report written, then that's an actual different number. It's a case number. Anytime that, everybody has their ring cameras and everything. Oh, why was that officer, I'm in Texas. Why was that officer at my door? They can call our dispatch and say, why was an officer at my door? That address I can do it from here. Put that address in there, and that incident number will come up for that address. Click it, and the dispatcher will tell the person why that officer was there. But we don't leave a note. Well, depending on what the situation is, say we have to make entry, and we can't get a hold of the homeowner. Obviously, there's damage to the door. We will do whatever we can to put a card on the door, to make sure the person knows, how to get his door fixed. Officers that are conducting investigations, like our plainclothes officers, they came in to knock on the door to do a consent interview or anything, or knock and talk. They'll leave their card. But every time a call comes out and we do something, even a traffic stop, there's an incident number given to that action.
If I may, I think it's a good question, Rick. Just briefly, in my personal experience, there have been occasions, at least one, in which police officers didn't enter my house necessarily, but entered my property, backyard. They were looking for a suspect. And in cases like that, and that was not just perhaps me, but also my neighbors as they were going through the subdivision. No note was left behind. I know some of those residents had some concerns about that. And again, this may not be Rockville City Police, but I wonder from your perspective, you mentioned, try to leave a card, is there a reason why a note, any information about police was present in your property at this time, this date, is that something that you would consider standardizing?
We absolutely could. I look at the question here, and I'm also thinking of the instance where, because it talks about yard and property, I also think of the instance where we get a call for, let's say, a noise complaint, and the officers enter someone's yard, their private property. Yeah, we want our officers to announce themselves. Rockville City Police, if the persons are home,
yes,
we obviously want to announce our presence in those cases because we want them to know, hey, we're the police. We're here for whatever type of complaint. But yes, we do have our officers make those types of announcements.
Yeah.
But yes, getting back to your question, yeah, I don't see that that's unreasonable.
And a lot of times, just say we check the welfare. You'll have a neighbor or whoever calling the police. And they're the ones that are saying, "Hey, I haven't seen this person for 2 or 3 days. His newspaper's on his car's there. We're going to go in the backyard. We're going to go in the curtilage, which we have lawful access authority to do that. We might pick in the windows. We might look in the back. I mean, for good reason. I've had a welfare check where a person called, hadn't seen the guy. I went to the curtilage in the backyard. I ended up getting a ladder and going all the way up to the 2nd floor. Now I saw the person laying on the floor in the bathroom naked. obviously had a medical episode. In that instance, the person that called is their friend, so they're already notified. And that person, when they come home, or if it's the person, there's nobody in there, we didn't find anything. The person that called, we say, hey, make sure that you let them know that we were here and why.
I'm sorry, but I just want to add to that, because I know you have the next question. And I think, because we get these questions that we're getting, but I think the follow-up should be also, I think it's important to consider what Mr. Parliamentarian was saying about some type of information of your presence, because we don't hear the good stories that you took a 20-foot ladder, 30-foot ladder, and climbed up, to a window and discovered that this citizen was, having some type of medical crisis. Leaving something behind, like that becomes now part of the record, becomes a part of a, media investigation or community investigation. Hey, at that time, maybe it was sergeant, I don't know what your rank was at that time, but, hey, we watched him, he went out his way, climbed up the window, and it was all in good thing, in good work, and, line of business, line of duty, saved this person's life. I'm sure this person is still alive, and we thank you for it, hopefully. And, but these are the reasons I think that it can cover both ends. One, civil liberties, but others, that's a good story. The public knows that, hey, this is, all right? Just want to add that. You go ahead.
We can also, leave a note in the card, like you said. We also have access to, when we go to a call, when we close the call out, we can actually put notes in the call. So if somebody calls and says, hey, why was that officer at my door? The officer can put in their notes exactly why they were there and what they did. So like I said, that incident number is, attached to that address. They don't necessarily need the incident number, just the address, and all the incidents come up. You can see the date that they're inquiring about. But I was a big component of our officers to leave the notes like almost all the time, because it's not just good for the citizen, but it's good for officers that had to come back. They might have to come back 2 days later. And they want to know what the officers did, what the disposition was.
Right.
And my second question follows up on, ties into the one that Alicia talked about around mental health issues. For our officers, it's not talked about a lot, but we know everyone has challenges sometimes personally. I make the assumption, but for the public, it's nice to know if you can speak to it. What is your policy for officers when they have challenges that are crises that they need to address? How do you address it for the officers so that they're taken care of? And at the same time, how is their privacy maintained when such occurrences are required?
So that's a great question. And, I actually spoke about this today at the Police Academy graduation. I think it comes down to breaking down the stigma that has been around and plagued this profession for decades, that if a police officer is having personal issues, historically, people think that that's a sign of weakness. And it all comes down to communication. One thing that our command staff has been very clear on is we encourage our officers and we encourage them and we let them know it is okay if you need help. Rockville City has a very robust, through our HR department, we have a very robust EAP system, the Employee Assistance Program, which is all confidential, by the way. But I think it's as we move forward in law enforcement. When I first became a police officer, it was a sign of weakness if you needed to talk to someone. That's just simply not true. And I think a lot of that comes down to breaking that down, comes down to leadership. If our officers hear it from us that it's okay, that actually goes a long way with our police officers. We have several officers that are members of the Garvin County Police Peer Support Team. So we have that resource. We have the city's EAP program. And obviously we have some officers that are very strong in their faith, and we have a chaplain. So we do provide those resources to our officers. One of the other things we're doing, any chance we get to provide wellness opportunities to our officers. I'm connected with the Baltimore County Police Department. The sergeant that runs their behavioral health unit is a personal friend of mine. That's all him and his team do, is take care of the wellness of their officers. And I get forwarded training opportunities nearly every day from colleagues both there and in other organizations across the state. And we push those out to our officers. And most of those training opportunities are free of charge. Some of them that we put out, we don't even make them request the training through us. They can register themselves and go to these trainings themselves. And most of those things are highly confidential. One of the things we're exploring is the Harbor of Grace, which is a treatment facility for first responders up in the northeast part of Maryland. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with that, but especially for first responders that have substance abuse issues. But I think it comes down to leadership. And I think a lot of this comes down to when you have police and law enforcement leaders that let their staff know that it's okay if you need help. I think that's the first step in breaking the stigma.
Thanks, that's good. And I think it's good because the public needs to understand that it's important to let the public know that officers recognize challenges.
Yes.
Everyone has problems and they need to
Yes.
have somewhere to go confidentially and work through whatever the issues are and still take care of them.
Yes, sir. It's hard to take care of the public if we're not taking care of ourselves first.
Thank you.
And that, continuing that same thread of discussion, is there, I don't know how best to phrase this, but for that officer's promotion or consideration for promotion, does the seeking of, and I guess it depends on the level of the concern or the problem, but does the seeking of some help and treatment, does that in any way, detract from their consideration for promotion? In other words, is that in any way calculated as a negative?
No, it's not.
Okay.
And that's a general answer because of the caveat you gave of depending on the nature. Obviously we'd have to take that into consideration, but let's just say it's an officer that has a personal issue at home. Maybe they're going through a divorce and they're stressed and they go seek counseling or therapy. If for whatever reason we would know about that, and we're a small department, our officers confide in each other, they confide in us. But no, we wouldn't hold that against them, because I think if you hold that against them, you're telling them it's bad.
Right.
That's not where we are as a police department.
Right.
I'd like to jump in with just a question. I know we're just keeping in mind the timing here and our respect for your busy schedules. I do want to give ourselves an opportunity to discuss a little bit some of the changes that you're making. And I'm going to try to combine this, if you don't mind, with one of the questions that we have, which is, how can we help? If we can help, in what areas can we help as a Police Accountability Board? So if you don't mind, if you could tell us a little bit about those changes that you're trying to effectuate and the extent to which the PAB might be able to be a partner on this.
Well, great question. And if I could, I'm going to wrap up the answer to that response to address question number one also.
That was
Excellent.
That was
So question number one talks about comments circulating about how law enforcement officers or agencies may or may not feel that the Police Accountability Board is out to get them. When the Police Accountability Board and the ACC first came online, I can't speak for every police officer in our department, but I think a lot of people, it was the unknown, if that makes sense. I personally believe, and these guys will tell you, it's my philosophy is we should be working with everyone. So to the vein of how can the PAB help? you know, if our officers become familiar with what your mission is, that your mission isn't out to get, but you're really here to help, and how can we work together? How can we have meetings and come up with ideas that can make us better as a police department? And we show them that this is not an adversarial relationship. I think that's the key to this. I really do. I can't think off of the top of my head right now a specific example of how you could help, other than when we go back, because our officers know we had this meeting tonight, but it's all about communication. If we go back and say, hey, we had a very successful meeting, we had good exchanges, we're coming up with ideas. Ultimately, it's my opinion that this body, this board, you want to see us succeed. You want to give us guidance and advice and give us some ideas, and we can work collaboratively together to make our operation better. And I think, again, a lot of things go back to leadership. If that's what leaders of police agencies in this county or any other county, or if they're communicating the message correctly, then I think question number one should be alleviated pretty quickly. That's my opinion.
I absolutely. I think that is the total mindset of this board. The transparency, the equitable outlook, communicative outlook. We had a ad hoc committee that is designed as a listening to a group. It's an outreach group that they are now, because of the weather breaking, are now going back into their touring of different parts of the county, and which includes the local LEAs and the different municipalities within Montgomery County, to hear from you all as well as the community, because we're serving everyone. We're here to work together with Rockville City, as well as other municipalities, but also be that ear to our community, those who are not sworn, professionals, in reference to the law enforcement. And I have encouraged, and I think we have planned where some of our board members, if not everyone, is looking to do some ride-alongs. I know at one time, I think who was handling your ride-alongs, scheduling?
I did it for a while.
Was who?
Beaverton, Crawford.
Yeah, Crawford. Oh, you were too.
I did for a while.
Yeah, because I think I did with you my first, yeah. So, we'll get those names so we can do those, ride-ons and ride-alongs, because I know one of the advantages of riding along with Rockville, some calls depending on, because District 1 is, sometimes you all share calls with District 1, right? Because they're in your area. Sometimes. Right, I understand. Sometimes, right? And sometimes Gaithersburg, depending on how far they go down, which.
That's more rare, but
yeah,
it could happen.
Right. But, that's important. I do and have done a lot of the roll calls, Rockville and Gaithersburg and the different districts, 6 districts in Montgomery County, answering some of these questions, fielding some of these questions. And again, because it is the unknown, not knowing the difference between the ACC and the PAB is one of the biggest things.
Correct.
Explaining the difference with that. And every board member is definitely committed to these ride-alongs, committed to even doing some of these roll calls, whether they're the evening shifts or the mid shifts or morning shifts. I think I've done them all, and sit down and just to be that listening ear, to officers, because, here in Montgomery County, we all believe, that this is a great county. Nothing's perfect, right? We know that, but we're not looking at it from a position of something being broken, as we are looking at it from a position of how can we continue to collaborate. right? Because if you look for something, you can always find what it is you're looking for, even if it's not really there.
Correct.
Right? So you don't look for anything broken, you look for how we can collaborate and partner. And I think that's the kind of the general mindset of this board that you can take back and share with the patrol officers and some of your sergeants and all. This is definitely not what this is.
Absolutely. And, one of the, when we, this new team of the command staff, when we took command of the police department, on November 22nd, I told every member of our department, sworn and civilian alike, that we were going to operate under three pillars. Our foundation of this administration would be founded on three things: open communication, transparency, and mutual respect and dignity for all. And in line with that, I will tell you, as the chief of this organization, if any member of this body would like to do ride-alongs, you're more than welcome. We do have monthly supervisors meetings with our road level supervisors, where we don't participate in that. That's their time with their command staff. I would absolutely go as far as to say, if anybody from this body wanted to attend one of those meetings to give an overview of what the PAB actually does, it would give our police officers a better understanding of what this does. And again, it's all part of transparency. So I have absolutely no problem with that, and I actually would welcome it and encourage it in our police.
You can put me down for that.
Okay.
Make my schedule work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
And we just communicate, of course, to,
Sure.
administrative staff, and if the listening tour wants to take, that would be a great thing for the ad hoc group, our listening tour ad hoc group,
Yeah.
which includes, member, McCray here, to take you up on that. On
absolutely.
that level, because that's important. And I say that from experience because, I know a lot of the chiefs and, upper level man, but I also take out time and I meet with and ride along with sergeants and, PO3s, PO2s, PO1s, and I get their comments because a lot of times, you get a different perspective
That's right.
from them than those who are, and you all know that's nothing bad, that's just the reality, because it actually there, right? That's the
So
deal.
we've talked a lot, we've talked a little bit about the changes we've made in our organization. Our city leadership, we all have bosses. Our city leadership has asked me on multiple occasions, how is everything going in the police department with our current administration? I can sit in there and tell them anything I want. I mean, obviously I'm truthful. My response to them, because we are transparent, don't ask me. I've got 85 employees over there. You can go talk to any one of them anytime. And you know what our city manager did? Our city manager took time out of his schedule and met with every sworn and civilian member of our police department. And he did that within the last, month and a half? And do you know how much anxiety I had about that? None. And it was phenomenal. And just like this body, I mean, the city manager is the boss. But once everybody had an opportunity to just sit down and have a conversation with him, their mindset changed. They're like, he's really here to help us. It's been a phenomenal turnaround.
And Chief, I just wanted to follow up on what George said as well, then, if you could, in short, one or two specific things that you've made changes, if you could share them. Of course, we don't want to break any confidentiality and investigative skills and things you're working on, but are there two things you can kind of share with us that you all?
Yeah, the biggest project we've undertaken since we've taken over, we have some general orders that were 10, 15 years old that were just had never been updated, had fallen through the cracks. We've made that a priority. We're updating our policies and general orders weekly. That's key for us. Again, in doing that, we've increased our staff meetings. When I was a lieutenant or the major, we were having command staff meetings maybe once every 3 months. In November, I mandated we have them weekly. because that's how you keep open communication. And I really believe, because we've opened the lines of communication from the newest officer to the office of the chief, and I have an open door policy. Every man or every sworn and civilian person in our police department knows that I'm an accessible chief of police. My door is open. I have officers that'll come in to my office and they'll sit and they'll talk to me about their children, things going on in their home life. And again, remember I said small department, people confide in each other. That has changed the overall work environment and work culture in our police department, to the point that we have seen our recruiting numbers and application numbers. He handles that. He'll tell you they're through the roof.
It's more than doubled.
Wow.
In 3 months.
It's all by word of mouth, most of it, because I asked, why are you applying here? What did you hear? It's all coming from other officers now.
I'm sorry, you said that has more than doubled.
Yeah.
And our police officers, our employees, why I put it out that we were going to operate on mutual respect and dignity for all, to include members of the public and our coworkers. When you value your employees, they're going to work harder. They're going to do the right thing. And it just has created an amazing work environment. And I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier. And we've done other things. We've changed some uniform insignias, small things that go a long way. Small things in a police agency that really didn't cause us a lot of issue to do, they got great, huge impact. Just things like that. We recently changed, for example, this may not mean a lot to anybody on this board, but Rockville City Police are the only police organization in this county that has only all blue lights on their police cars. I mean, it's a small thing.
That's right.
We just changed them to red and blue lights. And today we had one officer graduate to Montgomery County Police Academy. He did very well. He got an award. He was like second in the academy for shooting.
Yeah.
And I know that another police organization was actively recruiting him from us while he was in the academy. So when I walked out with him and his family and our command staff, I said, thank you for choosing our department and welcome to our family. We have something for you, but it's too big to get in the building. We need you to come outside. I handed him the keys to a brand new police car it's the first marked car here with red and blue lights on it. And you would have thought it was Christmas.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
It was Christmas.
Well, actually,
New cars are
actually,
old.
so I actually witnessed that.
So, just it's small things, but changing policy is a big thing. And we just have to get it current.
I see, I don't know which member hand that is. Is that Kate?
Right. Yeah, that's Alicia.
Oh, that's Alicia. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. But given that the community that you are policing is very ethnically and culturally diverse, I'm just curious, where Rockville City Police Department stands in terms of recruitment. Are you interested in getting recruits that are representative or of the diversity in the community, or where is that?
I will say this. Not only are we interested in doing that, we had a hiring event last month, and it was the most diverse group of police applicants that we have had since I've started working here. Right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that we changed, historically recruiting for a lot of police departments has been difficult. We have seen police agencies start to lower standards. Our department did that. Well, in December, we raised them back up. And some people were like, I heard commentary, they're like, by raising the standards, aren't you concerned that you won't get any applicants, or, you won't have a diverse of applicant pool? It's actually going up. And they're all passing the test. And actually, we have seen that the quality of our applicants has increased. It's been amazing. Been amazing.
I want to also give a chance before we have just a little time. We haven't heard from member Chris. I think I saw Kate and, looks like we still have Ron on. I'm not forcing you, but I want to give you a chance to, say something, question, statement, follow up on something, not, in an effort not to, forget, to forget about you. Chris, Ron, Kate, anything?
I have a few things.
There she is.
Thank you. Hello. Hi, it's wonderful to see you all. I wanted to follow up on the,
Just introduce yourself right quick. Introduce yourself and then ask you a question, please.
okay, yeah, sure. Hi, sorry, I was at another board meeting. I'm on a board of a mental health organization locally, so they had their meeting earlier. I'm Kate Manning. I'm a Chevy Chase resident, and I've been with the PAB since its formation. I had a few things I wanted to follow up on. First, on the body worn cameras, I just, we've spent a fair amount of time going through the complaints recently, the complaints that have come in, and it does seem like there is a little bit of a difficult point when there are occasions where the body worn camera is not there. So, like an officer is wearing a high visibility vest. And so it covers the camera, or a resident goes personally into the police station and there aren't cameras in the lobby. So I just wanted to flag that for you because it seems to add needless confusion, like you said, and I completely agree. The cameras are there to really protect everybody. So just wanted to kind of flag that for you to be aware of that, those little points where the cameras aren't present and there can be issues. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was the mental health of officers. I do a lot of work in my day job around officer wellness, and I know how challenging it is to get officers to focus on wellness. Officers it's the strength thing that you talked about. It's also this sense of like, I'm here to fix your problem. Like, we don't need to talk about my problems. And I think it comes from this desire to serve, but it can be difficult to get past that, to get people to really think about their own mental health. And so just a few tips on that I have found helpful in other environments. One is I think it's helpful to phrase it as this is part of your job to protect. You have to maintain your mental health because it means you make better decisions. You have, it's the way you communicate when you're on duty, and it's also what you're bringing home to your family. So that tends to be helpful. Another thing that I find helpful, feels kind of sneaky, but it seems to be surprisingly helpful, is if you do a whole wellness program, but start with financial wellness. The officers seem really pleased to talk about financial wellness, and a lot of them really want to understand, like, if I want to save for a house or what do I do with my retirement? And if you lump it all together, it seems to be easier if you go there. The ride-alongs can be really helpful if you have your mental health support or a chaplain do ride-alongs. A lot of times, there's a lot of time in those cars, issues will come up. And then the final thing I will say is, I love your focus on leadership, and I think you're absolutely right. I will say too, it's like they are definitely listening to what you say, but more than that, they're watching what you do. And so if you say EAP helped me, that's gonna, really, really make a huge difference in lowering people's barriers to access that. So just a few thoughts. Thank you all so much for sharing all of this and for your service to our community.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Always appreciate you. Chris, Ron, want to give you a chance?
No questions from me. Thank you, though.
Okay. Ron, you still with us?
I am, Bishop, and I don't have any questions. Thank you for joining us, though, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Now, did we get a chance to hear, did Chris and Ron both introduce themselves? Did you?
They did.
Okay, all right, okay. They say that's the first thing we go with.
I'll tell you.
All right, final words?
Questions to the PAB, just in case.
You got questions for us?
I have a question. Please, thank you. Thank you, George. Any questions?
I don't have any questions other than, I found this, as I'm sure the other two here did as well. I found this exchange, this is my first time here, obviously. I found it to be beneficial. I look forward to whenever it is I'm invited back or we're invited back again. The only thing I would say is please reach out through the staff or however you do that. Everybody has my email. I would absolutely love to have any of you come to one of those supervisory meetings to give an overview of the PAB to try to break down the barrier, just to help our folks understand. We'll tell them, but I think it would be even more beneficial if you guys would be able to do that for us. And, if they know that I'm inviting you in, I think that'll go a long way where they'll be more open-minded and receptive. So that's all I got for you.
Thank you, Chief. Lieutenant, any final words, sir? He's a quiet.
He's a man of few words.
He's a quiet storm. So, Deputy, Chief.
I can speak for myself, but the PAB, to me, it's a good thing. There's some things that we can discuss, within the law that, might have some due process challenges. But the main thing that we want, and all police officers want, is, to me, the PAB, the ACC makes it easier to get rid of bad officers. In the last 20 years, seeing other agencies and stuff like that, there's a lot of people that, because of the LEOBR, it was tough to get rid of bad apples and we knew they were bad apples. I think that this new law is obviously it's going to change when we have some hearings, some case law. But all in all, it's easier to get rid of bad officers.
Thank you for saying that too, Deputy, and that's one of the things you'll probably hear in your leader staff meeting, I think you called it, Chief, when you hear some of the ad hoc groups that are members that are going to come and join, is the understanding of the PAB is to research and find trends, and which gives us the ability to make some policy recommendations and policy changes, which is what you were just referring to, Deputy, to kind of make this thing better. That's associated with case laws and things like that. Eventually, when we start to have them, so that moves away from that inaccurate thought of we're here to get you, because that's not what it is. We're here to work together to find these trends, to see how we can make how our community is served through our LEAs and through this board, find these trends to make these policy recommendations and changes. And that's what they are. And we also have to, at the same time, say, yes, of course, to weed out the bad apples. And to also address the, I guess you would say, the idea that all officers are bad, right? Because we know that's just not true, right? But unfortunately, some people have misinterpreted the PAB in having that philosophy, and that's not who we are. Individually, that's not who we are, and as a group, as a board, that's not who we are. And hopefully by the last two annual reports, you can see that, and even from the reports that are out there now that you have access to from the ACC's deliberations, as well as the PAB's thoughts, you can see that, that fairness there, that transparency there. But you also can see that we are true to our mandate, which is, hey, we're here to keep this county a multicultural place to come live, to work, and to play. That's the objective there. So I don't think we have any final words here. I look forward to the ad hoc group getting together with that staff meeting. I know Board Member Greg is already on it. I think he'll get with Kate. She's of the ad hoc group. She runs that part. I don't think the staff, got any announcements of staff? Any final announcements?
Nothing additional from the staff.
Nothing additional from the staff? You good here? You have any final words?
I mean, I thank you again for joining us tonight. I certainly commend you for all the work that you put in already. And looking forward to like working together. I'll say this, you mentioned 3 pillars in terms of your leadership at the Rockville City Police Department. One of those we share, which is transparency. It's in our logo. So we will be looking forward to working with you and our other LEAs as well as the community. So thank you again.
Well, don't hesitate to call us too. If there's something you think that we could, bring a positive, a positive view by our presence, please reach out to us, to our, administrative staff. And that's what we're here to do. I think more than ever in these uncertain times, in a community like this, in a county like this, a unified front and understanding with, one of the other things I like to say, and the PAB has given me room to accept it and like it, is that we have to be prepared to be comfortable with being uncomfortable with talking about these truths and things that we have, especially if we're going to move forward. We're going to move forward. And again, so thank you for your time. We appreciate your time. I know you had a long day. I think everyone here has had a long day. Our staff, thank you again. Laura, thank you for your work. Thank you again, Forrest, for your hard work. Thank you for all who joined us tonight, all the members virtually and here tonight. Without any objection, I don't know if I can make the motion, but I'd like to make the motion to adjourn.
And I will second the motion.
Second. Almost made me think of a song. So, all those in favor of adjourning? By aye, if you don't see you, raise your hand. All right. Any nays? We are adjourned. Thank you. Good night.
Everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Very long. Let's make sure we get